Good morning, children. Yesterday I gave you a short summary of the chapter, The Sermon at Banaras. This is the last chapter that we have to do. It is short and we will be able to complete it today. See, Gautam Buddha began life as a prince named Siddharth. Gautam in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later, he returned home to marry a princess. Means he was a born prince and he lived a lavish life of luxuries, and he married a princess also. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. Befitted means suitable, royalty means like a prince. He lived after his marriage also for 10 years. He lived like a royal prince and they had a son also. At about the age of 25, the prince heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world. Shielded, protected. Till now, he was protected from the sufferings of the world. He did not know what pain and suffering was. While out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. He was a prince. He did not know what pain is, what suffering is, what sorrow is. One day he had gone for hunting and he saw some sights which changed his mentality. First he saw a sick man, and then an aged man, old man, then a funeral procession, death, and in the end he saw a monk who was begging for alms. So after seeing these sights, see what happened. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment. Enlightenment here is knowledge, spiritual knowledge, concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. He wanted to know what is the reason of these sorrows that people suffer from. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree where he vowed to stay until enlightenment. He moved for 7 years. He did not get that spiritual knowledge. Then he determined to sit under a peepal tree with the vow in his mind that unless and until he gets enlightenment, he will not get up. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree, tree of wisdom, and began to teach and to share his new understandings. Means he became a spiritual leader, we can say. He gained that spiritual knowledge and he also gave that spiritual knowledge to people. At that point, he became known as the Buddha, the awakened or the enlightened. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Banaras, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. That sermon has been preserved and is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. See, this is the sermon that he gave to people. Kisa Gautami had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said she had lost her senses, the boy is dead. So if we say there are so many things which give us pain, but something which can give us a sense of irreparable loss is the death of our children. So this lady has lost her only son. So after that, we can't expect him to be sensible. So she has lost her logic. She thought that she hoped rather that somebody would make her son alive. So she was taking him from one place to another. And people thought that the lady had gone mad. At length, Kisa Gautami met a man who replied to her request, I cannot give thee medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. Somebody understood her pain and he knew that only Gautam Buddha could remove her suffering. So he sent her to Gautam Buddha. The physician, the doctor that he is talking about is Gautam Buddha. And the girl said, "Pray tell me, sir, who is it?" And the man replied, "Go to Sakyamuni, the Buddha." Kisa Gautami repaired to the Buddha and cried, "Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy." The Buddha answered, "I want a handful of mustard seed." And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, "The mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend." So Gautam Buddha said, "Okay, I will make your son alive. You bring me some mustard seed. But you have to take that mustard seed from a house where no one has died." Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, "Here is mustard seed, take it." But when she asked, "Did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family?" they answered her, "Alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief." Means, this is the usual answer she got from most of the people, rather all the people. They said that we have lost many in our family and we feel grief about them. And there was no house, but some beloved one has died in it. She did not get even a single house where no one has died. Kisa Gautami became weary, means tired and hopeless, and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city as they flickered up and were extinguished again. So Kisa Gautami was sitting in the city and she was looking at the lights which are flickering. At last, the darkness of the night reigned, means ruled everywhere. After some time, those flickering lights also went out and there was darkness all around. And she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. So she understood the similarity between these lives and human life, that humans are also like that. Their lives flicker and finally they die, they extinguish. And she thought to herself, "How selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all. Yet in this valley of desolation," desolation means sorrow, deep sorrow. And this valley of desolation refers to this earth. "There is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness." She has understood the message that Gautam Buddha wanted to convey to her, that this is a valley of mortality, this is the place of sorrow, and people will die one day. Everybody has to die one or the other day, so she should not be selfish. The Buddha said, "The life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain." That our life is very much troubled and we feel pain also. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. Means there is no method by which we can escape death. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals when born are always in danger of death. So he says that as soon as we are born, the danger of death hovers on our heads. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortals. So he compares the life of human beings with so many things. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. Of those who overcome by death depart from life. A father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations, mark. While relatives are looking on and lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off. He says, if somebody has to die, he has to die. You can't stop that event. And one by one, all the human beings will be taken away by death, like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. This is affected by suffering. Therefore, the wise do not grieve. Wise people do not panic, knowing the terms of the world. Those people are wise who understand that death is inevitable, it has to come to everyone, and if we are not able to tackle the situation where we have lost some near and dear one, then we can't survive. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. He will make this paragraph is telling us the after effects of not handling death situation. We will not enjoy any peace of mind. There will be a lot of pain. Our body will suffer. He will make himself sick and pale, yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. We will cry, we will make ourselves sick, but the amount of lamentation, howsoever big it is not going to save the person from dying. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of lamentation. He compares mourning, lamenting to an arrow that it will kill you only, and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. Throw this arrow outside. Don't feel sad if somebody dies. You will enjoy peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and he will be blessed. So he tells us, he understands that we are humans. It is not so easy for us to bear the pain of losing our near and dear ones, but still we have to live. We can't die with the dead. So for that he is trying to give us some advice how we can tackle that situation. So this is the end of the chapter, and I will send the question answers to you in PDF form today itself. Okay, thank you.